Hello and welcome to The Cat and the Parrot. Right, big topical one for me, especially as we're going back to schools, is the mixed messages about DBS. And this really came to the head recently because in January in the House of Commons, they were talking about getting all these volunteers to do the lateral flow testing for the students that are coming in. And in the House of Commons, they said that we didn't need our volunteers to have a DBS. Now, they seem to have backtracked on that. And obviously, we as a schools now are worried about the new lateral flow testing and who we're going to get to do that. But what I really want to talk about is the mixed messages and how confusing it is to explain to someone when you need a DBS and when you don't need a DBS. It's that word regulated activity and that kind of close contact. That's what I really want to get my head around, is those mixed messages.
Okay, so keeping children safe. So we know in keeping children safe, they define actually what regulated activity is.
Yeah.
So it's more than 3 times over 30 days.
Yes.
Okay.
Nice
so
and easy.
Yeah, straightforward. So, however, like what you said, the first January comment was about you did not need that in relation to the volume of children testing.
Yeah.
So automatically in that January motion of that comment would have meant the person you're using isn't in regulated activity if they don't need the DBS. Therefore, are you using one person every month? Do you understand?
Yeah,
or using them twice a month?
Yeah.
Under the grounds of you've got lots of people.
Yeah. So it could be varied.
The definition is 3 times over 30 days.
Yeah.
So is that once a week you're using that person? But now we know they've changed it, which is so now you need someone who has had a DBS check.
But I'm worried about the fact that it's sent out very mixed messages. And I think that I'm concerned that people think you don't have to have a DBS if you're supervised, if you're being with someone else that's supervised, which I kind of get.
Don't forget. So I've done, it's interesting you say that actually, Kerry, because I've done quite a lot of safe recruitment training recently, and I deliver the 2 courses, the national courses for the different charities, right? Without kind of name dropping in that sense. However, in understanding, I talked about it a lot in the last 2 weeks, is even if you have got a person who's not in regulated activity, they still would have a DBS check. Yeah, but they wouldn't have, you wouldn't have checked the barred list. Do it make sense?
Yeah.
So the first comment in January wouldn't have made sense because everybody needs a DBS.
Yeah.
And then the difference would be whether you check the barred list or not, depending on the whole thing about regulated activity. So you're absolutely right. There's mixed messages. And I think it needs to be quite clear. And good practice is actually, if they're going to have close contact with children for more than 3 times over 30 days, they would need the DBS check against the barred list.
I mean, that phrase, good practice, I hear that a lot, good practice. And sometimes that is the phrase that I'll give someone who asks me, do I need to have a DBS? They're only doing it for once. You know, I mean, we don't want to go over the top. If a poet's coming in to talk to a pupil once, that's fine. But the good practice in us is thinking, well, if we think that person is going to be able to get in very close contact with the child and get personal information and get personally close with them, then that should be good practice. We should be sitting there thinking, let's do a DBS check. Let's just double check.
It's actually a requirement. So the comment I've just made is it's a requirement. Yeah, it's a requirement, a legal requirement if you are in RA. So if someone is in RA, they'd have to have a DBS check against them and also a check against the barred list.
Yeah.
If they are in RA. So that isn't good practice. That is a definite. Okay.
Definite. Yeah.
The not in RA is a DBS check, but without checking the barred list.
Right.
So that's the grey area. The grey area is if you're using someone less than 3 times a month, you would do DBS check. Also, they'll be supervised at all times.
Yeah. Which is a nightmare.
Yeah. So that's a bit. Yeah.
I mean,
so
how do you supervise someone all the time? Because most schools, they're going to go to toilet, you know, they're going to walk to their car, even just little things like that. It's a nightmare.
I know. And also thinking of the reality of why have an extra person there if you're standing next to them all the time? You might as well do it yourself.
Exactly.
So what's the point?
Yeah. definitely. So,
So
it's the mixed messages that
yeah,
annoyed
it's
me.
confusing.
Yeah,
It's confusing.
but
It's
hopefully
confusing.
this
But
clarifies it.
yeah, and I think it's something that, again, you would have to have a conversation with your leadership team, and don't go crazy on it to the point where you just chuck lots of things at it. It
Yeah,
needs to be
yeah,
done accurately and
yeah,
safely, because there are people right now who are clapping their hands the first time round, who
yeah,
want to have access to children. You know, the wording I use, access to children
yeah,
in a school environment, to be, you know, to get to know or be even near them, because they've
yeah,
got an attraction to children. Or some people who aren't up to date with all the requirements around spotting signs of abuse. There's, you know,
yeah,
even checking a child in the sense of testing a child, you've got to go near them physically. You've got to invade their personal
yeah,
space.
yeah,
And that itself is quite, you know, it's quite concerning in the sense of someone could take advantage of that. So
yeah.
that has to be done really safely and slowly. Yeah,
Excellent. Thank you very much. That's
no problem.
perfect.
That's fine. Thank you.